Welcome to Om Times TV, a division of Om Times Media and Broadcasting. Welcome to the Spheres of Spirit with Nancy Myers, aka the Lady of the Light. Nancy will discuss the everyday magic and wisdom of spirit which surrounds each of us, waiting to be discovered. She will share some of her remarkable orb photos, proving that our angels, guides, loved ones in spirit, and even pets surround us and guide us in our physical world. During this episode, Nancy will discuss one of the many spheres or aspects of spirit available to us based on her orb photography. She will also share a special channeled message from her guide, Leonini, and do an oracle card reading to help guide you along your personal spiritual adventure. And now, here is your host, orb photographer, author, medium, and speaker, Nancy Myers.
Hi, I am Nancy Myers. Thank you for joining me today. I'm kind of excited about today because I'm going to talk about a sphere of spirit that I had to learn about. When I started my spiritual path, I've said this in the past, I didn't have a lot of knowledge about, the other side or heaven or guides and teachers and angels. And I had to learn about angels. Um, my idea of an angel was, it's, the image on a Christmas card or, that was it. That was the extent of my knowledge. So after 13 years, I have learned quite a bit. I don't know everything, but as I always tell you, I share on this podcast what I have learned, what I have experienced, and what I have been shown through my orb photography. So that's what I'm going to do today. And it's going to be dedicated to angels. I've talked a little bit about angels in the past, but I thought there was so much more to learn that I would dedicate a show to it. So if you're ready, here we go. So I'm going to start with the word angel. So the word angel, which you can find in the Bible, its strictest translation, or where it goes all the way back, is from the Greek angelos. And that word simply means messengers or ministers. And it's their job is to execute the will of the one whom they serve. So what are angels? Well, angels are holy and are called hosts or armies of heaven who are sent to help us in spiritual warfare. They are not gods, and neither are they ghosts or spirits of the dead. That's important. They are creatures or beings, as I like to say, of God who minister to us at the bidding of God or Source. Angels were not created in the image of God as humans, as we were, but they can assume bodies as needed to carry out a task. I'm sure you've all seen videos on the internet of images of angels or um, at a time of need or right at someone's impending doom, an angel will appear and help them. But there are other stories, and I have a story I'm going to share with you also, where they literally can appear as in human form. And in fact, there's of course stories in the Bible about that. Um, I'm not a Bible person, but the one where they were sent to warn the people to leave before the city was destroyed. But now I want to tell you that these beings also, they say, now this is the research that I've found and read about. There's so much more and so many different versions. So I'm just going to give you what my understanding is. So again, the angels are non-corporal, which means they have no bodies, spiritual beings. They also have no gender, but they are superior to humans in power and intelligence. So I say no gender because that's important. We as humans put male, female, or tags or labels on everything. Well, the angels don't need that. But if you feel that for instance, we're going to talk about guardian angels, do you gravitate more towards a male energy or a female energy? I'll go with an energy, but not a male, if you understand what I'm saying. Now, angels are mentioned at least 273 times in the Bible. So Christians, of course, know about angels. That's where most of us, or a lot of us, first learned about angels. But did you know that all the major religions of the world believe in some type of angels? Angels, the Jews, the Christians, the Muslims, Buddhists, the Hindus, African traditional religion, Zoroastrianism. I'm sorry, I'm going to destroy that word. They all describe angels and they describe them as winged creatures. So, where did that winged creature come from? Well, it's taken on a variety of forms, the angel, um, but but they were always determined to be divine messengers, or even harbingers of, well, they call it apocalypse in the research that I have, but of serious problems. So where did this winged creature come from? Well, contrary to popular belief, angels did not originate from the Zoroastrian text, but some researchers say that they go back further, even to the Sumerian religion. Now, the archaeologists discovered that the Sumerians believed in a wide variety of winged beings, but they were called the Anunnaki. And they were part of the 7 deities of the Sumerian legend. The Sumerians worshipped these, which is believed to be around 2000 BC. And they believed that the Anunnaki were responsible for the creation story, as well as a set of notable events in their legends and mythology, such as fables and things like that. So, but if you look up Anunnaki, there is so much information on the Anunnaki. Some say they were um, from another dimension or another being, or there's a lot that you can find on the Anunnaki. But for our sake of discussion today, we're just going to stay with the angel part of the Anunnaki. So several generations later, around 600 BC, the ancient Iranian prophet Zarathustra founded Zoroastrianism. And actually, that religion would lay the groundwork for Judaism, Christianity, and later Islam. And it was here that the angels developed a hierarchy similar to that of the 21st century. Under that religion, the Zoroastrianism, angels occupied one of 3 ranks. And I'm going to talk about this because there's so many different types of angels that I wasn't aware of until I started getting into all this. So, what are the 3 ranks as the Zoroastrianism laid out? Well, they comprised the archangel, and the archangel underneath the archangel then was the guardian angel. We've all heard our guardian angels, and I'm going to talk about more of that in a minute. And the guardian angel, they kind of acted as agents between the human and divine realms. And beneath the guardian angels were what they called the standard angels. Now, the standard angels, which often have supernatural or otherwise superhuman abilities, they're a broad group that comprise any spiritual being of venerable stature. And for instance, there was one that the Zoroastrianism called Ariaman, and he was, or she, or it was dedicated to friendship and healing. So it had its own job, if you will. And we're going to find as I go through this that angels have jobs, they have areas of expertise. And I think that's important to know so that we know who to call on. I want to give a shout out to everybody who's listening today. Hi, and thank you very much for listening. Somebody said they're trying to share on Facebook, and I don't know how to do that. Sorry, maybe send them the link that was posted earlier on the Orb Connection, and then they can find the link. Sorry about that, Geraldine. Okay. So after the Zoroastrianism, Judaism emerged, and it wasn't too long after that. And within Judaism, they decided that they said that there was a supreme being, or who they called Yahweh. Now, I've heard of Yahweh, or there's another name, and I'm not even going to attempt to say that. But Yahweh, according to this early Judaism, was the creator of humanity, earth, and the universe. And under Yahweh were a set of distinct angel ranks. And that arose because the Jewish mystics studied and practiced the Kabbalah. And the Kabbalah is technically, they say, the mystical interpretation of the Old Testament. But that's where but they were the ones that formed the basis for the biblical angels as we know them today. For instance, Judaism said that there were 3 classes or orders of angels, ranging from first to third. At the top was the first or highest order, and they were called the seraphim, the cherubim, and the thrones. I had never heard of a throne. Maybe you have. And these were the most powerful angels, according to Judaism, and they were the closest to Yahweh, the creator, in their biblical mythology or beliefs. Now, let's talk about those three. The seraphim. The seraphim appear to act as escorts to Yahweh, and they kind of surround him, and or they I don't want to yeah, they surround the creator. I don't like using pronouns. They surround the creator and are with the creator at all times. The next one that I on this list is called the cherubim. Now we think of the cherubim as those cute little chubby angels. Well, when they first came out, that is not who they were. Um, they can appear as even hybrids of animals, but they guard the gates to Eden or heaven, depending on which scripture you look at. And the cherubim are, in fact, they were never depicted as chubby winged little babies until the adolescent days of a Byzantine empire. I'm going to talk about Byzantine in a minute. And then the Byzantine Empire, which was the burgeoning Christianity, started to spread across Eurasia. They changed the look of the cherubim, but the cherubs too. Um, Back then, they were more akin to warriors and guardsmen. And sometimes they would be represented by fearsome claws and broad wings, very different from what we think of today. But what was the Byzantine Empire, just so you know it's considered the Eastern Roman Empire. It started about 330 AD. And first it was Catholic, but then it pulled away. They had a big split in 1053. And then that's where the Eastern Orthodox faith then emerged from. The third one of those, the thrones. So the thrones is said that they are closest to the creator, and they actually serve as the wheels that allow Yahweh's throne to move. They are the closest of the highest order to Yahweh, and they, believe it or not, can be represented by circles. That's why they say they're the wheels with wings or eyes on them. Very, very different interpretations of angels. So the second order, that was the first order. The second order comprises of more humanoid type angels, like the dominions, the virtues, and the powers. The dominions is said to pass on godly orders to the virtues, who act as conduits for earthly miracles. The powers manage the movement of the heavenly bodies, such as the planets and stars. And then the lowest order, which is made up of what's called the principalities, that's the archangels and the standard angels. So I have just talked about all these different kinds of angels, and then I'm finally getting to the archangels and the standard angels that most of us think of. But there's so many more. So all these angels, all the humanoid angels that we think of, they are closer than any other order to the human realm. We're kind of like their pet project, okay, if you will. Regular angels basically just act as guardians and messengers for humans, and they will relay information from higher angels, and even they will be the ones, because they are messengers, to pass on information to people who need it, like, even the prophets, Moses and stuff. So I did want to talk a little bit about my first encounter with angels, with orbs. And, I've had a show on before where I've talked about the colors of the orbs. And I started getting these brilliant white orbs. Not all the time, it was kind of rare, and they were very different. When I first started taking orb photography, everything had concentric circles in it. And then all of a sudden, I got these brilliant, beautiful white orbs. And then I found out through meditation and readings that this was from the angelic realm. And so, Chris, if we can bring up that first slide, I have 3 examples of some of the angelic orbs that I've gotten, and you can see that they're kind of faceted. They almost bleed out beyond their borders because the light is so beautiful. And um yes, they're brilliant, but they don't hurt your eyes to look at them. So I really just cherish this. Now I'm showing you this because um i- i- angels, a lot of angels don't have to take on um, human form. And um, so I'm going to show you. Let me do my next slide. Could we bring up the next slide, Chris? There we go. When I first learned about angels and that I could talk to them and I could call on them, um, and that they would appear, obviously, with the orbs that I just showed you. I had my husband, who, if you follow my show, you have met, and he's kind of a good orb photographer now as well. But I said, honey, take my picture. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to call in my angel. And so the picture on the left hand side of the screen, you can see that beautiful white um, orb just above my head. And my husband said, there's an orb above your head. And I said, how far? And he told me, and I said, I'm going to call, going to put my hand over my heart. And at this time, I knew who my guardian angel was. And I said, could you come closer? And he took then the very next picture. And there she was. I call her she. She has a very feminine, soft energy for me. So I show this to you because you don't always have to have a picture of an angel with wings to know that your angels are around. And I hope this is proof to you. It was to me. And like I said, I don't get it all the time, but she appears when I need her the most or when I call her in. So thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Okay. So in the Christian Bible, there's, according to them, there are 9 hierarchies or orders of angels, and each with its own task. Okay. So they're grouped in order of strength and importance here. So the highest angels, the Christian Bible says, of course, are the seraphim, cherubim, and oops. And those are 2. I'm sorry. The seraphim and cherubim, and they are continually in God's presence in worship and praise. So you see, the Christian is a little different than the other 2, Judaism and the Zoroastrianism. Chris is probably my producer's probably laughing at me on my pronunciation of this. But there's overlaps. Okay, there is overlaps and names that are similar, but those beliefs systems or religious structures, they kind of have their own take. So that's why I'm talking about all of these, just to show you that how they overlap and how much commonality there is between all the religions. So, okay, so the highest is according to the Christian Bible, is the seraphim and cherubim. Next, we have the thrones, and we've heard of that. And the thrones, according to the Christian Bible, bring justice. Then the third is the dominions. We've heard of the dominions, and they regulate life in heaven, according to the Christian Bible. The fourth, the virtues. And interesting, they say the Christian Bible says the virtues work miracles. And we heard that in the other 2 that I mentioned. Fifth is the powers. We've heard of the powers, and they protect mankind. And 6 is the principalities. And the principalities, the Christian Bible faith says, are concerned with the welfare of nations. And then the 7th are the archangels and angels, who serve as guides and messengers to individual human beings. So again, they have a hierarchy. A lot of the names are the same, but and a lot of their jobs are the same. They just group them a little differently. So overall, angelic hierarchy remained the same throughout Christian history, with the cherubim taking on more and more human features. And then when we came out of the Dark Ages around 1400, all angels were either humanoid and they were serving as messengers of the creator deity. So you see that they kind of evolved. And I don't think they mind that as long as we know of their existence, right? That they are there to help us. So let's talk a little bit about archangels because I don't know about you, but when I first heard of the archangels, I was not Catholic. I was barely Presbyterian. So I didn't have a lot of knowledge of angels and archangel names and of course I knew Michael and I knew Gabriel. Now see Gabriel, I call Gabrielle. To me, Gabrielle is a feminine energy, but that's up to you. But anyway, I wanted to know, okay, where did these angels come from? Who gave them their names? Who knew what they did? And so we're going to go into the archangels just a little bit. Now, back in the Kabbalah says there are 12 archangels, and they give them names, and each is assigned a certain, they call it a Sephira, Sephira, or an aspect of God that they are responsible for. So the first one is Metatron, Raziel, Cassiel, Zadkiel, Samael, Michael, Uriel, Haniel, Raphael, and Jophael, Gabriel, and Sandalphon. There is a name, IEL stands for something, and for the life of me, it just went out of my head. But I think it can be the last letters of most of those angel names, the archangels that I just read, end in IEL. And I think that means of God, if I'm not mistaken, which I could be. But there is a reason why they all end in IEL. Okay, so in chapter 20 in the book of Enoch, if you've never read the book of Enoch, I highly recommend it. It's an incredible read, but it's more spiritual and mystical, and that's probably why it was left out of the Bible. But in the book of Enoch, it mentions 7 holy angels who watch, and they are often called Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, Sariel, Raguel, and Remiel. Now, those are maybe a little more familiar to you. They were to me. And then here's an interesting thing. There's a book called The Life of Adam and Eve, and it lists the archangels also, which is called Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, and Joel. But interesting, in Catholicism, and you Catholics, I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know, only 3 are mentioned by name. And they are Gabriel, Michael, and Raphael. Michael in the Hebrew language means who is like God or who is equal to God. An archangel is said in the Catholic Bible that he is God's top angel and he leads all of the angels in heaven. Michael holds the distinction of being featured more often than any other named angel in all major religious texts. That includes the Torah, the Bible, the Quran. They all mention Michael. And Michael is the only one, interestingly enough, that some of the Bibles call archangel. So what does archangel mean? Well, it comes from a Greek word, archaggelos, and it means literally chief angel or chief messenger. And it is said that Michael's main purpose is to help planet Earth. So that is his role. Interestingly enough, the Seventh-day Adventists and Jehovah's Witness churches say that Jesus Christ was Michael before Christ came to earth. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints says that Michael is now the heavenly form of Adam, the first created human. So I just, to me, that was amazing. So I'm going to break here, and I'm going to finish with the archangels. And when I come back, I have some more stories and photos to share with you about angels. We'll be right back.
Om Times TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities. The story told in Entering the Light Fantastic, Discovering Life After Life Through Orbs, is about Nancy Meyers' spiritual and emotional rising from the devastating ashes of loss caused by the sudden and unexpected passing of her son Robbie. Just like the legend of the reborn phoenix, Nancy's life purpose and focus was transformed. With the help from her son in spirit, Nancy found herself providing proof through orbs that our souls do not die with our bodies. In her second book, Encircled by the Light Fantastic, A Deeper Journey into the Light with Orbs, Nancy continues chronicling her path of gaining spiritual knowledge and expanding acceptance of what is possible, while traveling to many sacred and ancient sites around the world. She shares these experiences with you along with her photographs of remarkable spirit encounters.
When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet,
We discover
they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
love.
And we're back. Thanks for staying with me. Okay, so I want to finish with the archangels, and then I'm going to get into a couple of stories here. And I want to really get into the guardian angel because they're the ones that are personal, at least to me. So Gabriel is one of the archangels that are mentioned. And Gabriel in Hebrew means God is my strength or might of God. And he is also she is also the messenger. And he's depicted as God's right hand, or she is depicted as God's right hand. So very close to God. Raphael, and a lot of us know who do energy healing or healing work. We know Raphael is the healing angel, and his name in Hebrew means it is God who heals, or God heals. He's associated with green when he comes in, or when he's depicted in art, and he's holding physician's paraphernalia, alabaster jar in his left hand. And then in the Protestant, there's one more. They believe in those Michael, Raphael, but there's one more that they believe in, and that's Uriel. And Uriel in the Hebrew language means God is my light. And since I photograph light, I would like to hope that Uriel is working with me. He's depicting as holding a sword in his right hand. And so he helps spread the light of God. Now, I want to get to our which was shocking to me, the lower of the angels, which is, the regular angels below the guardian angels. I mean, below the angel level. And so according to Christian tradition, every one of us has a guardian angel. And they are said to have accompany us from the moment we're born until the moment of our death. And they stay at our side at every moment of our life. Now, there are some that believe our guardian angels come and go. There are some that believe we never interact with our guardian angels. And there are some religions, like Catholicism, that says we are not to name our angels. We are not to pray to them. I disagree. When I first found out through a medium that I had a guardian angel, which was a beautiful surprise for me, and confirming the orbs, the medium told me, this is what she wants you to call her. When I do readings for people, and I say my silent prayer, and I ask that, that I can connect for this person. In the middle of my silent prayer, I asked my sitter, or the person sitting across from me, my client, please say your first and last name, because to me, our names are so personal, and that opens up the channel or establishes that connection. We know who or why we're connecting. So to me, if you know your angel's name, now do our angels care what we call them? No, they don't. But for us humans, I think it establishes a connection, more of a personal relationship than going, hey, you. At least that's my opinion. That's what I have done. When I need help from my angel, she's called Shonda. I will ask her. Her sign for me is a feather. And I will say, okay, Shonda, if I'm doing the right thing, I need a feather. And the feather will show up in the most strangest of places. And that's when you know that this feather was for you. Your guardian angels can leave you all kinds of signs, but you need to develop that personal relationship. Sit in meditation and go, okay, I want to connect with mine. What should I call you, or what is your name? And I tell people, whatever comes into your mind first, use that name. And then if you want to ask for signs, which I talked about in another podcast, you can say, okay, I want a sign, but ask for it for 2 or 3 times so you know exactly that sign is for you. So you have that personal relationship. If they're assigned with us our whole life, I think that it's behooves us to get to know them, to know that help is available. Why wouldn't you? When my son got to the other side, I asked him, what did you first encounter through a medium? And he said, he talked about meeting his family, loved ones who had, passed before him. He met his guide, who was kind of like a guardian angel, but a guide, not an angel, who had been with him most of his life. And he was there with his angel. So we do, according to my son on the other side, even after passing, we go and we work with our angels. I was told that every living thing has a guardian angel. There are pictures of dogs who are just passing, I've seen, and their spirits are coming out, or there's an image behind them, and they're being greeted by angels or something. So if energy is life, and when we pass, we revert back to the energy. Why wouldn't all of us have angels? Why wouldn't all of us have guides and a divine team? And I find that so comforting, again, to know that is there for us. So how can we be sure there's angels? Well, faith comes into it, experiences, dreams, signs. early on, I have a picture I'm going to share with you in a second, but I love working out in my yard. And shortly after I learned about my angel, it was bright, sunny, hot day, and I'm on my knees weeding, and I kept hearing, look up, look up. Now I'm in Southern California, and Southern California, we don't always get a lot of clouds, um, especially in the summertime. But anyway, I'm out there working, and I hear this persistent, look up, look up. And so I did, and I almost fell over. So if we can bring that next picture up, Chris. And there, um, hopefully you can see this angel. You can see her huge wings, and you can see her head bending forward just a little bit. Now that's important because my next picture that I'm going to show you now are clouds angels. They can be representations of angels. I tell people you have to remember we live in a physical world. So the spiritual, the angelic realm, the spirit world, they have to work with the materials that we can see. So they'll manipulate materials in our physical world that, then represents them. It's the same with the orbs. So notice her head bowed. So now I'm going to show you one at night. I was out taking my usual orb pictures, and I took this picture, and I've shared it with people before. But you can see this is my angel Shonda. I had called her in, and there aren't any wings, but the glow of that and the face of that is very similar to what I just showed you in the formation of that cloud. That's the only time I've ever captured anything like that. So that's my proof that my angel is there and that she listens. And responds to me. What a beautiful thing. So you hear things called like, and I did, a host of angels. What does that mean? Well, a host, it's a multitude. And in the Bible, in Luke, when the shepherds were on the night of Jesus's birth, they looked up and they saw a multitude. What is a multitude? It said they saw all they could see. So in other words, everywhere they looked were angels. So how many angels are there ultimately? Beyond our ability to count. When you think about the universe or the universes or the galaxies, and all this was created by Source or God, and it's under Source or God's supervision. And these angels then watch and do the work of God's aspects. There's got to be quite a few. But we just need to know, okay, which ones are working with us. But it goes beyond our comprehension. So don't think, oh, well, there's only two. And I have a lot of people say, well, I don't want to call on Michael. It's just like they say, I don't want to take him away from his work. Well, of course, they, like all spirit, has the ability to be everywhere at the same time and anywhere at the same time. So the heavenly hosts are commonly thought to have been created on the first day. That's the 7 days of creation. However, the Jewish faith says angels were created either on the second or fifth day. So they were created at the same time as everything. So they have been here long before man, the angel and angelic realm. So there is a reference. They call them, all the host was created on the second day. All the host, all of the angels that were going to assist the creator. And there's a line in the Bible. It says, God is the Lord of hosts. So what are angels? They are the hosts of God. So I want to share a couple experiences with you. Let me show you this last picture because I just talked about God. And I was in Maui. And again, I was walking along and I heard, look up. course, I always have my camera in my hand. And I looked at this and I was just, I, I don't cry easily, but when I looked at that, I was moved to tears. And I call this the face of God. And at the time, I was walking along and praying. And so this picture, it's not an orb, and it is clouds again, but to me, this is just amazing picture. I did I did a deck of oracle cards, and this is on the back side of all the cards. I just love this picture, so I wanted to share that with you. Okay, I wanted to tell you a couple stories. So there was and these are documented. So in Columbus, Ohio, in 2015, there was a pastor who was driving. His name was John Boston, and they said he was driving on a road called Airport Road, and he got in a terrible car accident, and the transformer fell on his car, and he was trapped. But he said that there was this pastor said a stranger walked up before the first responders got there and opened the door and removed him from the car to safety. The stranger told this pastor his name was Johnny and that he had to leave the scene before first responders arrived because he can't be here when they get here. The pastor never saw this person again, but he was sure that it was an angel. Well, I have a similar story. um, probably 8-10 years ago now, I was driving, I was heading out. I live in Southern California. I was on the freeway going through Palm Springs. I was going to have a meeting with this. She was actually kind of my mentor and was helping me with the orbs. So this was early on. It was a dry afternoon, but driving on the freeway, I hit a patch of standing water. And I was in my husband's car, and of course, I'm a bit of a speeder, so I was doing 75 or 80. Well, I hit this patch of water, and I could feel the car start sliding. Now, this is the 10 freeway in Southern California. It's a highly traveled, busy freeway, especially for trucks, because it cuts right through from Los Angeles right through to Arizona. So I feel the car start turning, and I can't stop it. And so, interestingly enough, I had just read an article a couple days before that said if you start skidding and out of control, turn in the opposite direction. So the car is sliding, it's turning, it's going across the freeway. I was in the fast lane, all lanes of traffic. I bounced off the guardrail, goes back again, all across 4 lanes of traffic, still spinning, twisting. I hit the other guardrail, back across the freeway for the 3rd time, and then I was finally able to stop the car. Now, the whole time that I was sliding, it was the strangest experience. It was like I was in a tunnel of bubble wrap. I don't know how else to explain that. The air got really thick. It was like everything was in slow motion. It was the strangest feeling. Well, once I stopped, then somebody finally hit me and they hit the driver's side door because I was now perpendicular to the freeway, and they hit the driver's side door. My friend was able to get out. But right when we stopped, right after we got hit, a man appeared on the other side of the car, and he said, "Okay, I'm a doctor." I mean, this was within seconds. "I'm a doctor, and are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm okay. Get my friend out." And so he was helping my friend to get out of the car, in my head, I hear, "Ask him his name. Ask him his name." And I said, "Okay." So then he comes back and he said, "Okay." He said, "How are you?" I said, "I'm fine, but what's your name?" And he got this funny look on his face, and he said, "I'm Craig." And when he said that, this cold chill went through my body. Why? Because I lost my older brother when I was 9 years old, and his name was Craig. And I swear I saw him wink. And right then, I looked in my rearview mirror and I see the fire truck come up. Now, I mean, this is within minutes. And then I looked back and he was gone. He was gone. So was he acting as my guardian angel, or was my angel coming in and giving me a familiar name? I don't know. I was okay. We got out of the car and the car was totaled, and I don't know how I did not get hit by a semi. And but you have those moments. So here's another quick story, and I want to share this one with you before I go into Leonini's message. And this is documented, or they say it is. In 1984, July of 1984, and this is just to illustrate that, there's a quote that angels are all around us, even in the very air we breathe. And I believe that. I believe they're always around us. But in July 1984, there were Russian cosmonauts, and I'm not going to go into their names. They were aboard the Soviet space station, and they were on their 155th day of their mission. And they were also going to receive more people to come on board. And I have their names here, but you can find this online. But they all of a sudden they were in the space station doing their work, and there was this orange glow that filled the inside of the space station. And at one point it was so bright they had to turn away. This orange globe in the middle of space. So when it died down a little bit, they went and looked out the portholes, or whatever they are, for a possible, and they thought, oh my gosh, did something explode? Are we in trouble? Is there fire? But what they saw was more incomprehensible, because all of the cosmonauts reported seeing the faces of 7 angels. They told their ground control they were humanoid in appearance, but they had wings and halos. And these beings kept pace with the space station for 10 minutes before just vanishing. So then on 12 days later, they were joined by that additional crew, and it happened again. They were bathed in this orange light. Then they looked out the portholes as soon as the light died down, and there were their angelic beings. But they said they were reportedly the size of an airliner. So this was deemed top secret for a long time. And everybody, of course, was told not to speak of it. But, you can go online and look up angel stories, angel videos. You have to be discerning because there's so much created stuff out there, what is real and what isn't. But there's just so much that happens. And I'm sure many of you have your own stories, where there was a time you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall off that cliff. And then all of a sudden you're saved. Or, you walking down a street and all of a sudden got an idea, oh, I can't go that way. I need to go this way. And something terrible happened on the way that you were going to go. There's stories like that everywhere. So do I believe that that's our angels? And yes. If we're not meant to, if that's not our exit point, and they can, it's not that they interfere. They protect us. And the reason I tell everybody get to know your guardian angel is because I have been told that our angels won't, maybe they'll save us once in a while from death, but for everyday stuff or guidance, they're not going to just pop in. We have to invite them. So that's why I always invite my angel to work with me. So as I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something. I hope you get to know your guardian angel. Is it important to know the history and all the different levels? And no. But it's nice to know. I always want to know, where did this come from? Why are we putting so much emphasis on this? So I think it's good to know the history. And then you get a better understanding. It's just like I like to know the history of the Bible. Okay, where did this come from? Who really wrote it? Who decided what books were going to come in? You learn so much when you look into this. But anyway, as usual, yesterday I sat down and I asked Leonini for a message with the intent that it be for today's podcast. So I sat down, and here's what she said. I always get an image first, and the image that she showed me was, you know how you blow bubbles, those big bubbles, and they float away? That's what I saw. So, what a unique thing a bubble is, so thin and delicate. Sometimes it is said things are protected by a bubble or that one can live in a bubble. What does this mean? Well, it means that even though you are existing, that existence is in a small space. You can see beyond the walls of the bubble, but this delicate wall somehow separates you and keeps you limited. In your physical life, it is possible for you to exist inside a bubble, sometimes without even knowing it. This bubble, however, keeps you from seeing beyond your five senses. It is safe in this bubble. It is familiar and comfortable. But this bubble that surrounds you can separate you from our world. Just as soap bubbles disappear with the lightest of touch, so would your bubble of perceived reality disappear with the smallest of gestures. When that bubble burst, you will realize how limited your world was, how confining and how restricting it was inside that bubble. With the lightest of touch, push on the wall of your old beliefs, and you will discover an expanded universe. I thought that was kind of pretty. So today, for my card reading, since we're talking about angels, I have my angels deck. It's called Healing with the Angels. So I will give a reading. Hopefully, this card will be for everybody to help you on your spiritual path and your work with angels. So let's see which ones they want to give here for you. And shuffling. Okay, so, okay, you ready? Okay. The one that I chose, it says listening. And how perfect. It's always perfect when you open to spirit. But there is a woman standing next to this large angel, which I believe angels can be very large. People who have seen Archangel Michael with their own eyes say he's huge. But there she is. I think she's listening to her guardian angel. And that's exactly what I said. Listen, make some time to sit quietly, to get to know your angel, to start a conversation with your angel. I tell people spirit and communication with the other side is so subtle. And if we don't make time to quiet our minds and sit in peace, it's hard to hear the messages. But this card is reinforcing the fact that all we have to do is listen, and we can connect with our own angels. So I hope this was helpful to you. I want to thank you for joining me, and I look forward to next time. Take care now. Bye-bye.